So I'm here to talk about a few things. I'm here to talk to you about enterprises and the enterprise needs. I'm here to talk to you about developers and what developers are looking for and why open platforms matter. So I'm Manav. I work for the HP Helion team. Those of you who don't know what HP Helion is, simple definition, Helion is everything cloud at HP. So before I start talking about Helion and developers and enterprises and open platforms, a quick background on me. So when I was in college, I was learning about the OSI stack, and I specialized in computer networking, and I decided to model my career and career choices on the OSI layer. So no, I'm just kidding. But I started working at Intel. I worked at Microsoft, at Google. Now I'm at HP, where it all comes together. So during the course of the last decade and a half, that I've been talking to a lot of enterprises, talking to a lot of CIOs, a lot of CTOs, a few things have come out very loud and clear. And interestingly, the enterprise challenges or the needs, as you may call it, have remained mostly unchanged. And that is because these needs and these challenges are very characteristic of how enterprises are set up, how enterprise ITs work today. So first and foremost is enterprises run one of everything, right? There's no notion of homogeneity in an enterprise. Depending on the solution, depending on the scenario, depending on the needs of the customer, the enterprise customer, there's one of everything. So what CIOs, CTOs are always seeking is a unifying layer, a layer which normalizes everything that's disparate and disconnected in the network. They want it to all come together. The second thing, which will resonate with all of you, I used to, as I said, I used to work at Microsoft before. And enterprises do not like the notion of vendor lock-in for a variety of reasons. The primary one being vendor lock-in is seen as a way, as an inhibiting factor to innovation. Because if you buy, you get invested into one particular vendor, and all you can do is continue to invest more and more into that vendor's solutions and products, you are kind of being restricted from leveraging the latest and the greatest that the industry has to offer. And finally, any enterprise IT organization, the CTO, the leader of the organization, probably has the toughest job in the industry that I know of today. Because they're given two goals. They're given two success metrics. And these success metrics are in direct contradiction of each other. The first one is, hey, you need to move the organization forward. You need to foster innovation in the organization. You need to be forward-looking. And the second goal is, hey, you need to have low total cost of ownership. You are a cost center. You are not an R&D organization. So these two goals usually create a lot of pressure, a lot of inbound pressure into an enterprise IT organization. So in my experience working with enterprises, one thing that's been very obvious is that enterprises see open platforms and open source platforms as a solution to some of the challenges that they face on a regular basis. However, there are concerns around open source, and these are concerns that everybody in this room must be familiar with, which is the lack of support or security, or the notion of an ecosystem, or maturity of the product. And several of us at this conference have spent a lot of time ensuring that enterprises learn to see open source and open platforms as a very compelling solution for their needs. But why do open platforms matter? Open platforms matter because they enable and foster the development of applications. And applications are great because, that's where the true innovation happens. Applications are great because that's where the touch point with the broader organization happens. Applications are great because they're easy to develop and cheap to run. So the value for an enterprise is always in the application layer. And since we're talking about applications, you can't have applications without developers. having been a developer in my previous life, having run engineering teams in my previous life, what I'm up and talking to an audience which is primarily developers, so whatever I'm saying over here should be motherhood and apple pie to the room. First, developers love to do only one thing, the thing that they are best at, which is code. Second, they do not want to be like provisioning databases. They don't want to be provisioning like runtimes. They don't want to be provisioning messaging services. They want to write applications. They want to like create true value, true innovation at the layer, in the domain of expertise. Next, they like abstraction. They love APIs. Having a true abstraction, a true scalable abstraction, true extensible abstraction is something that every developer fancies. And then finally, they like to have the right tool for the right job. So for example, a developer working on a content management system would prefer to use a PHP as the development language and framework for their need. And someone building a highly performant application for the cloud may choose to use Node.js. Now, forcing a particular framework choice, forcing a particular database technology choice, often tantamounts to trying to fit a square pole through a round hole. And yes, you get an application which does a few things, but the application is not performant. The application is not compelling. The application is not innovative, and the developer is not happy. So from our perspective, from the perspective of HP, enterprise needs, developer needs, and open platform in the platform as a service layer comes to fruition in Cloud Foundry. Why? Because Cloud Foundry, we believe, is a truly open platform. Cloud Foundry, we believe, has got the industry momentum behind it. Cloud Foundry, we believe, has the right kind of participants in that community. And we are very excited about what Cloud Foundry has to offer. However, any platform as a service layer still needs infrastructure. So when we think of a cloud solution, when we think of our cloud stack, we think of an end-to-end experience wherein you have infrastructure and the application layer and the platform layer working really well together. So a few years ago, we made a big bet in this another open platform, in another open source effort called OpenStack. And we are today, let me see. So I'm not going to read through the slide, but the point to note about OpenStack is 3 years ago, at the inaugural OpenStack Summit, there were 600 attendees. I just came back from Atlanta a couple weeks back, and there were about 5,000 attendees at the last recently concluded OpenStack Summit. I'm not trying to draw parallels here, but I think we have about 600 people in this audience today. So I'm looking forward to what this summit 3 years from now is going to look like. If we can mimic the success and the momentum that OpenStack has had in the infrastructure layer at the platform level, I think that'll be a big win for us. From an HP point of view, we are completely 100% invested in OpenStack. OpenStack is, we are building and shipping products built around OpenStack. We are the number one contributor to Juno, which is the release of OpenStack that's being worked on. Have the product technical leads in the OpenStack community are on the engineering team, which works on our OpenStack product. And we run one of the largest deployments of OpenStack at scale in a public cloud. So we take a lot of learnings from running OpenStack at scale and deliver it back to the community, because that is the premise of our vision. That is what we want to do. That is how we believe true open platforms evolve. We recently announced 2 products as part of the Helion product line. One was the HP Helion OpenStack, which is a product which packages OpenStack in a very consumable form, which makes OpenStack enterprise grade, which makes OpenStack run at scale. And the other one is the HP Helion development platform. I'm going to talk a little bit about the development platform today because it's very right for this audience. I think that it's very relevant to this audience. HP Helion development platform is where Cloud Foundry meets OpenStack. So when we started thinking about the development platform, we set 2 goals for the team. And these were 2 goals that we said we are not willing to compromise on, because the product needs to have a point of view. Any successful product needs to have a point of view. We can't be building a Swiss Army knife, right? So the 2 goals that we set for the product were build a best-in-class developer experience, because at the end of the day, you can't have a platform if no one's building an application to it. If you don't have an ecosystem, you do not have a platform. And the only way one gets a platform is by building a great developer experience which has very little barrier to entry, which has no friction for developers to start using and building applications for the platform with. And the second goal, which is equally important, is to optimize the binding between Cloud Foundry and OpenStack. Very important, because we have made these 2 bets, and, which is OpenStack and Cloud Foundry. And we don't want these to be agnostic of each other, because then what's the point? So some of the optimizations that, that potentially we'll work with the community, we'll work with this room on, are things such as identity and keystone integration, or the management integration. OpenStack has its own management experience, and so does Cloud Foundry. But at the end of the day, from an enterprise admin point of view, they're running the 2 together. So why have 2 different experiences, or why have 2 experiences which are totally agnostic of each other? Similarly, the database as a service in Cloud Foundry. If it were to talk to Trove, if it were to integrate with Trove, it could actually make the highly available and durable aspect of the OpenStack platform available to the application developer. So applications built to Cloud Foundry would be highly available, would be durable. Same thing applies to messaging as a service and Marconi, and the list goes on. And again, this is not the one-to-end list. These are just few examples of what we want to do with the community. Food for thought for you. And so if I was to leave this room, I know I'm standing, I promise to keep it short and sweet. So if I was to leave you with one thought, that would be that we see Cloud Foundry and OpenStack as 2 truly great open platforms, as 2 platforms that are the future of the cloud computing industry. We see Cloud Foundry and OpenStack as two platforms which can complement each other, which can work really well together. We see the two layers joined together in such a way so that the sum of the 2 is greater than the individual parts put together. That said, thank you for your time today. I appreciate the opportunity to come talk to you. And this is my Twitter handle and the Twitter handle for the Helion Cloud team. You can follow us there to learn the latest and greatest of what we have to offer. And I think with that, I'm done. I'll be by the booth. If you have any questions, please come find me. Thank you.